Welcome back to another episode of the DFS Express presented by Loudmouth MMA, MMAtoday.com, and the DFS Army. I am your host, the Daily Fantasy Sniper, and on tap we have UFC Chile, the UFC's first trip down to the country of Chile from Santiago. The main event is Kamaru Usman and Damian Maia. Before we get started, please give me a follow on Twitter at the DFS Sniper. Make sure you're checking out all the sponsors I just mentioned. Loudmouth MMA Podcast, you can get wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, MMA-today.com for all your MMA news, and DFSArmy.com got you covered with all your DFS tools. I'm also a contributor over there. Use the code SNIPER for 10% off VIP membership. And if this is your first time listening or watching the DFS Express, I'm going to run through every fight in this card, usually between 10 and 15 minutes. So let's get right to it. These are DraftKings specific breakdowns. The main event, as I mentioned, is Kamaru Usman 9,500 taking on Damian Maia 6,700. And how many times do we have to see Damian Maia against a wrestler? It's not going to go well. Kamaru Usman has power. He's way better on the feet. Maia has no way to get this fight to the ground. Sloppy takedowns. Usman's going to piece him up here. The only way Usman loses this fight is if he gets cocky or overconfident, takes his fight to the ground, and plays in the guard of Damian Maia. I don't think he's going to do that. He has 5 rounds to work to score points on the feet. He's live to a finish. He has power. Maia can gas. He's also taking this fight on short notice for me. Kamaru Usman is really safe in cash games. Tournaments, I'm going to play some because I think he scores well, but he's the most expensive fighter on this card. He has to be the highest scoring fighter to end up in the optimal lineup unless a couple dogs win, which there are some live ones on this card. Nothing I'm crazy confident in, but there are some live dogs that we'll get to. So Kamaru Usman in play in all formats for me this week. Tatiana Suarez 9,300 versus Alexa Grasso 6,900. The MMA Twitterverse, MMA betting community has, I think, lost their minds a little. Everyone is really high on Tatiana Suarez. I get it. I like her too, but she's up to minus 700 in some places. She's a power wrestler. Grasso has questionable takedown defense, clearly. Randa Marcos took her down 4 times, and that's really the only place people are looking. Alexa Grasso came into the UFC with all the hype, has underperformed. She's still 2-1 in the UFC, clearly has the better striking in this matchup. The problem is Tatiana Suarez has the way better wrestling, and she'll get this fight down and just control her there. And for DraftKings, it's going to score a lot of points. She's going to be popular for a reason. I think she's probably the chalk up in the top tier. You can play her in cash games as a block. She's in play in tournaments because she is less expensive than Felipe Silva and Kamaru Usman. Grasso's in play, though, because if she can stop the takedown, which I know is a big question mark, both these girls are 5'5". They're both relatively big for the division. If she can stop the takedown, she's going to have her way with Suarez in the feet. Suarez is one-dimensional. I'm picking Suarez to win. She is my preferred play at 9,300. But Grasso is live on the feet because she's clearly the better striker, has to stop the takedowns. Don't see it happening. I'll take Tatiana Suarez at 9,300. Grasso in play because of the price tag. Dominic Reyes, 9,000, taking on Jared Cannonier, 7,200. Jared Cannonier needs to not be in this division. He said a couple times he's going to move down to 185. Still hasn't done it. Dominic Reyes has a ton of hype behind him. He's got wins over Johan Christensen and Jeremy Kimball. Both guys are not UFC caliber. Jared Cannonier is clearly UFC caliber, but he's fighting up a weight. Dominic Reyes is also 5 straight first-round finishes. What's the gas tank like if it goes late? But he has decent takedowns. He has power. I'm picking him to win here at 9,000. Cannonier is a GPP play for me because if it gets late, I think he may have an advantage if Reyes gasses. Also, he's legit, has power of his own. He still hits very hard, even at 205. I think he's live, but Dominic Reyes has more tools, and he's my preferred play at 9,000. Diego Rivas, 8,600, taking on Guido Canetti, 7,600. When I first saw this fight, I was all over Diego Rivas. He's where I was going to go because Guido Canetti is a 37-year-old who is coming off the juice in USADA, got choked out in his last fight. Bunch of little red flags here for Diego Rivas for me. He's the only Chilean on this card. I think guys tend to fold under that pressure of the hometown crowds up on the main card. Everyone's a little different. It's one of those, he doesn't score particularly well even when he does win. His two wins were Lahat and Rubio. He lost to Teco Quinones. He also isn't facing the highest quality of competition. The only guy worth anything there is Teco Quinones. And he lost that fight really handily. Canetti's going to come out strong, throw big shots, and then look for a takedown. I think Rivas is probably the better mixed martial artist, but if he wins, I don't think he scores incredibly highly. I'll have exposure to both sides in this fight. Because of the price range they're both in, I'm leaning as Guido Canetti as my preferred play at 7,600. But it's a close fight, and just it's one of those where I feel like something funny is going to happen, and I don't trust Diego Rivas enough at 8,600. Andrea KGB Lee, 9,200, taking on Veronica Macedo, 7,000. Andrea KGB Lee also has a lot of hype behind her. I think people are overlooking Veronica Macedo. She's got a Taekwondo background. She's a really interesting fighter. Last time her UFC debut was her last fight. She made it against Ashley Evans Smith up a weight class at bantamweight. That's tough. She's back down in her natural weight class. KGB Lee is very marketable for the UFC. She's a well-rounded fighter. She can do everything. I think they're going to stand and trade, though. Lee could get a takedown here, but I see this fight playing out on the feet, and then it's the Muay Thai style of KGB Lee versus the Taekwondo style of Veronica Macedo. I think Macedo at 7,000 is decent value. She's going to be my preferred play at 7,000. I can't see KGB Lee, even in a win, paying off that price tag at 9,200. KGB Lee is my lean in terms of a pick, but Macedo has the value on DraftKings at 7,000. Vicente Luque, 8,800, taking on Chad Lepre, 7,400. This is one of my more confident picks of the card. Chad Lepre is 3-1 in the UFC, 3-1 in his last 4 fights in the UFC. 3 first-round finishes, but it's against a bunch of cans. Not good fighters. He got rocked by Galor Bufando last time out, whereas Vicente Luque is legit. He knocked out Bilal Muhammad, who's got a way better chin than Chad Lepre. He choked out Nico Price. I like Vicente Luque a lot. I think he's up and coming here. All signs point there. 8,800. I will have a lot of Vicente Luque this week. Zach Cummings, 8,400, taking on Michel Prazeres at 7,800. People are on Zach Cummings because Prazeres is moving up in weight. They don't like him because of the missed weight, and he is going to be severely undersized, but he's so strong. I just don't think Zach Cummings is that great here. He's just, he's got a win over Nathan Coy. He's not, I don't think he uses his reach incredibly well. He's going to have, I can't remember, for 6 or 8 inches, he'll have a substantial length advantage. I don't know if it's going to do him any good here. Prazeres will have a lower center of gravity, be able to get in on this takedown, use his BJJ skill. I like the grappler here in Prazeres. I'm a little worried about his gas tank, but I'll take the price savings and potential big upside. I'm going to lean with Michel Prazeres for 7,800. Alexandre Pantoja, 8,200, taking on Brandon Moreno, 8,000. These guys met in the Ultimate Fighter. Moreno has had more success. Pantoja's 2-1 in the UFC. His last fight was against Neil Seery, who had 1 foot out the door, whereas Moreno main evented a five-round fight against Dustin Ortiz, against Sergio Pettis. They will have a common opponent in Dustin Ortiz. Pantoja lost, Moreno won. Moreno was losing the first round in that fight before Ortiz just does what he does sometimes and gives away a fight. I think overall, Moreno needs to catch Pantoja in a sub to win this fight. I think Pantoja is better on the feet. He's more technical. He's more likely to end up in top position. There's more way Pantoja wins this fight. Moreno is live just to sub. I don't like picking guys like that, so I'm going to go with Alexandre Pantoja at 8,200. Poliana Botello, 8,700, taking on Siori Kondo, 7,500. These two should stand and trade. Botello was in a fight against Pearl Gonzalez, who won nothing to do with her on the feet. Siori Kondo won a fight against Chan Mi Jian, where they just stood and trade. Not a lot of power each way. Botello has power. This is one of those, I think Kondo's going to have the volume. Botello's going to have the more significant strikes. I think Botello is another interesting one where I think Botello wins the fight. I think it probably goes to a decision. If anyone's going to get a stoppage, it'll be Botello. Kondo has plenty of volume. Unless she gets knocked out, I think she scores decently to consider in cash games. I have exposures to this side, to both sides of this fight, because I think it's one that they're going to stand and trade, be more one of the more active fights in the card. My preferred play, I'm going to go with the person I think will win the fight in Polyana Botello. I'm not super confident though, because Kondo has plenty of volume, but I'll take Botello to land something significant, and the upside of a finish is there. She will be my preferred play at 8,700. Gabriel Benitez, 8,500, taking on Humberto Bandone, 7,700. Gabriel Benitez just took on Jason Knight, who's a big favorite in that fight, and dealt with the pressure really well, and really had the signature win of his career so far. Bandone is a young guy who, he's very aggressive. His last time out, he beat Martin Bravo. He's going to come forward, and I think he's live to a knockout in that way. But Gabriel Benitez is just, I think, too technical. He dealt with the pressure well. He just dealt with it against Jason Knight, similar style. Bandone is probably a little faster. Benitez, though, is a veteran who can make this a dirty type of fight. I think has the advantage wherever it goes, as long as he can deal with the aggression of Bandone. So Gabriel Benitez is my preferred play at 8,500. Next up, we've had Enrique Barzola, 8,900, taking on Brandon Davis, 7,300. Brandon Davis is one of the most fun young fighters in the UFC. The problem is Barzola, I think, is a really underrated prospect. Good takedowns. I think he takes down Brandon Davis a bunch here and works his way to a win. And obviously the wrestling scores well on DraftKings. If Davis can stop the takedowns, he probably has the advantage on the feet. Barzola is no pushover, though. Davis is exciting. They could stand and trade. Davis would be plenty live in that type of fight. I just don't see it playing out that way. I really like Barzola as a prospect. The wrestling should be an issue here, so he'll be my preferred play and pick to win at 8,900. Frankie Saenz, 9,100. Henry Briones, 7,100. I know Briones looked really bad last time out against Hanayaya. Frankie Saenz, though, is 9,100, and he should be on a 4-fight losing streak in the UFC. He won a controversial split decision against Merab Dvalishvili, where it was close. I think Dvalishvili probably scored more than Saenz in that fight. I think Dvalishvili had like 11 takedowns. Saenz is the power wrestler. Briones is going to have an issue there, though. Briones needs to stop the takedown. And he throws hard for the division. Saenz should be 0-4. There's other fighters I like in the range more than Frankie Saenz. That's why the preferred play will be Henry Briones, because I think he's live. More of a GPP play, just on the form of Saenz. Saenz, though, with the power wrestling, if he wins, could score well. I'll have a little bit in tournaments. But again, just because of how Frankie Saenz has looked and the price tag, I think the prices are just off. This is a mispriced 9,100, 7,100. The line is what's often causing the pricing, and Saenz is a minus 300 favorite. I'll take Henry Briones as my preferred play at 7,100. Felipe Silva, 9,400, taking on Claudio Puelles, 6,800. Puelles was on that tough Latin America season that Martin Bravo won. He's just too green. Felipe Silva isn't a world beater, but I think he walks through him here. He's just better all around, has first-round finishes. He's better wherever this fight goes. And in fights like this, there tend to be quick finishes. I don't think Puelles is UFC caliber. Felipe Silva, while not the best UFC fighter, I think is a low-level UFC fighter. Should handle him pretty easily. Puelles will be a fade for me. Felipe Silva has some upside. I think is relatively safe. He's the preferred play at 9,400. That's what I have for you this week for UFC Chile. Again, please give me a follow at the DFS Sniper. You can find everything else I mentioned in the open through me on Twitter. If you are watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're listening or watching somewhere else, please go over, subscribe to my YouTube page at the DFS Sniper 1S. Again, that's all I have for you. Good luck in your contests. I will see you next week.